Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, and it's great to be back again this afternoon, Corbin.
Absolutely, we've had a little bit of a hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we had a live event in January. Of course, this is the first one in February. We are going to take a little bit of another hiatus.
Mm-hmm. And there is a reason for that.
Absolutely,
Sure.
we're not skipping out on y'all. We promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
But our traveling starts again.
It does. March and April. We're going to several different places.
Absolutely.
And should I go ahead and talk about that right now?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's hear where you headed to in March.
My first trip in March, which will be March the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, if you're in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, or if you're up in that area, please come by Horse World Expo. Will be taking place at that point in time.
Fantastic.
We're going to skip 1 week, and then the 18th, 19th, and 20th, one of our associates, Darren Owens, will be in Kansas at Equifest, and that's Salina, Kansas. So go by and talk to Darren. He'd be glad to help you. Also, that same weekend, I will be at Southern Equine Expo, which is in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Not very far from here, but it's a good small show for you to be at and to attend. And as soon as I complete that show, I'm going to travel on to Lexington, Kentucky, and there we'll participate in Road to the Horse. So if you're available, please come by, talk to us. We would love to speak with you about our products or any problems that you might have. And also the 25th, 26th, and 27th, Darren Owens again will be in Albany, Oregon, and that will be at the Northwest Horse Fair and Expo. During the month of April, April the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th in Columbus, Ohio, Equine Affair, another great end-user retail show. The next weekend, Mr. Corbin himself, the 14th, 15th, and 16th, Corbin, you'll be in St. Paul, Minnesota, at the Minnesota Horse Expo.
Fantastic.
And
we
hope that the weather is very fair for you at that point in time.
I might bring a coat just in case.
That weekend, the 15th, 16th, and 17th, I'm supposed to travel to Canada, Red Deer, and we'll be at the Horse Expo in Red Deer, Alberta. That next weekend, Mr. Darren out of Virginia will be at the Midwest Horse Fair, which is in Madison, Wisconsin. And then the last weekend of the month in April, back in Lexington, Kentucky, is Land Rover. So if you can attend any of these, please come by. We'd love to talk to you face to face.
Absolutely. If you're ever going to be at an expo that one of us are at, please come by the booth. Let us know that you watch us here on Facebook. Of course, we always make sure that those individuals don't leave empty-handed.
That's right.
We've got T-shirts and, of course, different things that we may pass
we
along
can pass on to you. Absolutely. Right.
So please make sure if you're going to be in those areas to come see us. Now, Mike, I am looking through these comments, and not only do we have people all across the United States and into Europe, but we have a lot of people who have insulin-resistant horses.
There's a ton of those out there today.
Absolutely.
And it is a growing problem, not only here, but around the world as well, Corbin.
Absolutely. So we have a big topic today. We have a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. This is, again, one of those topics that we could probably spend a month on. And just, but unfortunately we don't have that. We have an hour. So we're going to go through this and get as much to you as we can, talk about as much as we can. Of course, at the end of this, if you have any questions, always please let us know. Message us here on Facebook. Email us at cservice@lifedataLabs.com. We will be happy to answer those questions if we do miss anything or if we happen not to answer one of your questions. But of course, we had a lot of people respond with questions on Facebook. And so we're hoping we're going to cover a lot of those. And of course, as always, we have our giveaways that will be going around today.
We do. In fact, we'll have 3 specific questions that we will ask at different times during the presentation. Please submit your answer, and the winner will be randomly drawn at that point in time. And the giveaway, if you want to mention that.
So our giveaway is our usual kind of giveaway here. We've got the Breeder's Formula, which is our canine supplements, great for those itchy dogs and needing improvement there. The hoof clay and the finish, which are great. Topicals for the external health of the hoof, Fair's Formula cap, and a t-shirt. And we'll get into a little bit more on how to win that when we get to that question. And of course, we have our grand prize giveaway, and that link has been scrolling down at the bottom. It's at lifedata.live/win. So you can go and enter that at any time. So I know that's a lot to cover there here in a short time, but we have a lot to discuss.
Sure.
So if you're ready to jump into this, Mike, I'm ready.
All right.
All right. Well, Mike, like I said, I know we have a lot of people here who are probably dealing with insulin resistance and who are looking at prevention. So when it comes to insulin resistance, is there a typical age? Is there a typical breed that tends to develop that a little bit more easily?
To answer your question, yes, you're correct on both aspects, number one, Corbin. In fact, when we talk about IR, or insulin resistant, a lot of times we're talking about a young to a middle-aged horse that will start displaying the symptoms or the clinical signs. And yes, there are certain breeds that are going to be predisposed to this problem as well. So there's possibly some genetics that's involved there as far as this particular problem. Some of these particular breeds that we will mention, I kind of refer to them a lot of times as easy keepers. Of course, the Morgans, the Andalusians, the Arabians, the Passos, and certainly any pony out there is subject to this problem, and minis are subject to this problem as well. And then you have the warm bloods that are subject to this problem. And then of all horses, the Mustangs are subject to this problem as well. And you might ask, well, why these specific breeds and not other breeds? Why this particular age and not older horses? A lot of this information we don't know, just to be quite honest with you. And this is an area where much more research needs to be done so that we can hopefully find those answers, exactly what's causing the specific problem and specifically to these breeds. There is some speculation, though, that I have read from several different individuals. And let's say, for instance, the Mustang, which was basically a feral or a wild horse. And if we think about the diet of the Mustang, basically it was forage, grass. And not only was that the diet of the Mustang, but another aspect was involved for him to consume this grass, that was movement. He had to exercise. In fact, that Mustang had to travel miles a lot of times to get the necessary grass for the horse to survive. And another thing, and this is speculation too, is the Mustang had the ability to store up. That is, build fat reserves. And the Mustang was able to do that to survive, say, the winter months when it becomes extremely harsh as far as the environment itself. And so what has happened with that Mustang, we have taken that horse, his ability, and we have domesticated that horse. That horse has plenty of green, lush grass today. Not only does that Mustang have access to that on a daily basis, but we're feeding the horse on a daily basis as well. So we've had to do a transition there. And some would speculate that the horse doesn't have the ability to make that adjustment, which may be true or it may not be true. So, but yes, basically young to middle-aged horses with certain breeds that we've got to be mindful about as well.
Okay, well, you mentioned that you know, especially with these, you know, kind of younger horses to the older, we start seeing some of these clinical signs.
Mm-hmm.
So as a horse owner, what are these clinical signs? What do these horse owners need to be looking for?
Okay. One of the things that's associated with insulin resistance is going to be this obese horse, this horse that's overweight. Mr. Will, if you will put up slide 1 for me, please. We good? Okay. You can see here that we've had a growing problem in this country. In fact, there were some studies done in 1990, and this study revealed that only 5% of the horse population in this country was overweight. We've had some recent studies done by different states, and what they have found is that somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of our horse population today is overweight. And we end up with these obese horses. And this obesity problem is directly contributes to this problem that we're talking about today, and that's insulin resistance, okay? Now, as far as body condition score, we want our horses to be maintained at somewhere in the neighborhood of a body condition score of 5, 6, somewhere in that range right there. When we hit 7, 8, and 9, these horses are carrying excess finish, excess fat, they're overweight. And that is not desirable at all. And especially if we have one of these specific breeds and they're overweight, then they are a candidate for this particular problem then. Okay, another clinical sign that we're going to find in these horses as well is that it's extremely hard for them to lose this weight once they put it on. It's tough to get it off. And so, with that being said, they gain weight rather easily on very little grain, very few calories, very few carbs. So we've got to be very mindful of that. Another clinical sign that we're going to see in these horses is that they're going to create these fat deposits, these fat pads on different aspects of the body. In fact, one of those is going to be the neck, the crest of the neck, where we see the crown there, the thickened neck. Of course, these fat pads are going to be behind the shoulder blades, the ribs, the tail head, and so forth. And a lot of times right above the eye of the horse, there'll be a fat deposit as well. Of course, now this group of horses is also is very subject to an inflammatory response as well. Of course, this group of horses with IR is extremely subject to laminitis. And we certainly don't want to have to deal with a laminitic issue, and if we can prevent that, then that would be our goal, is the prevention of that. A lot of these horses that have an IR problem at a younger age, as they grow older, a lot of times that horse is going to develop another problem called Cushing's or PPID. And that horse can have both of these going on at the same time. And of course, if Cushing's is involved as well, another clinical sign is going to be an excess consumption of water. And with that excess consumption, we have this excess urination problem as well that's going on. Okay? So we might ask ourselves, what is insulin resistance? I would suggest that insulin resistance is one component of equine metabolic syndrome, and we'll call that EMS. And there's 3 components to EMS. The first one is insulin resistance, okay? Mr. Will, if you'll put up slide 2 for me, please, sir. We know that obesity is directly tied to insulin resistance. And of course, as we look at this particular horse, it's extremely overweight. This horse would have a body condition score of at least a 9, and that is totally undesirable there. The second part of equine metabolic syndrome, besides being insulin resistant, we have the obesity problem that we can clearly see here. And then the third aspect of EMS is that that horse is either subject to laminitis or has an ongoing case of laminitis. Okay? And I think we're at the point that we're ready to ask question number 1.
Okay. So we have a question for all of you watching. This is, of course, our first giveaway question. Unfortunately, this is for the United States only. Due to international giveaway laws, we're just unable to do giveaways in other countries. But we'll set a timer. You'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. Then we'll go through all the correct answers, and we will randomly select someone to that's going to win our little prize pack here. Okay, so everyone have their keyboards ready and fingers on the keyboards ready to go. Get this first question here.
Okay, I'll let you do that, Corbin.
Okay. What is the ideal body condition score to maintain the horse? Again, that is, what is the ideal body condition score to maintain the horse? You have 2 minutes. Good luck. In the meantime, since we asked them a question, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Sure. In fact,
that we got from Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, Angela would like to know, is insulin resistance as common in crossbreeds as purebreds?
I would say yes, by all means. In fact, it doesn't matter if you have a purebred horse or if it's a crossbred horse. Essentially, all horses are subject to this problem, especially if that horse is overweight, number 1. So we need to be mindful of that. But yes, to answer the question, yes, all horses are subject to that, regardless.
Okay. All right. So the next question we had, this is from Janelle. It seems that horses now are more prone to insulin resistance than in the past 20, 30 years. Is this due to more sweet feed being fed now as opposed to more hay-based feeding in the past?
Yes, I would agree with that statement in that we've had a change in our diets that we're providing the horse. We have these green, lush pastures that a lot of these horses are out on 24/7. So with that being said, a lot of these cool season grasses contain massive amounts of sugars or fructans, which the horse does not need. A lot of these horses are being grained on a daily basis. And the one thing that's missing with a lot of our horses today is exercise. So I think all 3 of those contribute to what's going on in the horse world today.
Okay, we got about half a minute left. So let's get one more in before we announce the winner. Mary would like to know, is it true that an insulin-resistant horse always feels hungry?
I would say yes. In fact, I had to go back and do a little research on that. In fact, I had to have a little help from our veterinarian on answering this particular question. But there is a hormone that's present in that horse. It's called leptin. And that horse can actually become leptin resistant. In fact, a lot of our insulin resistant horses are leptin resistant. And what this hormone specifically does, if it's present and readily available, is that it helps suppress the appetite of the horse. So if the horse becomes resistant, it doesn't have this particular hormone to tell him that, hey, I've had enough. I'm hungry. Feed me. Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
Okay.
All right, and thank you to everybody who submitted those questions. We really appreciate it, and we hope we do the best we can to answer those. Okay, so time is up on the first trivia question. The answer, the ideal body condition score to maintain the horse is around between 5 and 6.
Correct.
5 and 6. So we do have a winner, and hopefully I pronounced this correctly. Judy Sweetman.
One of the two.
One of the two there. Congratulations. You are the winner of our prize pack. Again, you're going to win our breeder's formula, which is fantastic for those dogs. Hoof clay and finish that are wonderful topicals, especially right now. I know here in Alabama, we just got through a lot of rain. So those are great for those type of areas as well as dry. Your Forage formula cap and a t-shirt. So if you will email cservice@lifedatalabs.com, in the subject line, you can put live giveaway winner, and we're just going to need your street address to where to ship this to, and then your t-shirt size. And just as, you know, we kind of always talk about this, you know, we will never contact you and ask for a credit card or anything along those lines. When it comes to Facebook, there's a lot of people who try to pretend to be companies, and when they do giveaways, they try to get your information and so on. So if that happens, please notify us. Please notify Facebook of it, and don't give them any of your personal information.
That's right.
So we do the best we can to protect from that, but unfortunately we can't do it, stop it all.
Sure, they want to steal your money.
Absolutely, they do.
That's all they're after.
So congratulations to Judy,
Sure.
and we've got 2 more trivia questions as well as our grand prize. Hope you guys are enjoying it so far, and let's keep going, Mike.
Absolutely. When we talk about insulin resistance, let's talk about what's involved. Of course, the endocrine system of the horse is involved in this particular problem. Of course, the endocrine system is made up of multiple organs, glands, and tissues, and they have a specific function. And the function of these is, number one, hormone production, and also the regulation of these hormones as well, all right? And of course, we know that the hormones are very valuable to the horse because they have specific jobs to do. That might include reproduction, it might include growth, or it may include metabolism, okay?
Yep.
And let's talk about what is actually happening in a horse that has insulin resistance. I think we need to know that, okay?
Absolutely.
And of course, the organ or the gland that comes into play is the pancreas, number one, okay? The job of the pancreas is to produce insulin. Now, insulin which is a hormone, and insulin has a specific job to do, and that is to metabolize and balance the body's main fuel source, which is glucose or sugar. All right? Now, the glucose and sugar that's found within the bloodstream of the horse is coming from the carbs that the horse is obtaining from either the forage that it's grazing or from the grain that it's consuming there. So when that horse has a meal, then we have the glucose or the sugar that enters the bloodstream at that point in time. And that triggers the pancreas to produce insulin. And what the insulin is going to do, it's going to help balance out the sugar level or the glucose level within the bloodstream itself. And the insulin acts as a key, if you want to put it in this form. The insulin is like a key, and it's going to open the door to the tissue to allow this glucose to pass from the blood into the tissue itself. So that is the function of insulin itself, is to moderate the sugar level within the bloodstream, to trigger the receptors, if you want to call them that, to allow the passage of the glucose into the tissue itself. And when this is able to function on a normal basis, all things are good within the system of the horse. But the thing that we need to keep in mind is this, is that the more forage consumed, the more grain consumed, the more sugar and the more insulin that's got to be produced by the pancreas to offset this overload within the bloodstream itself. And over a period of time, the insulin loses the effectiveness of what it was supposed to do, number one. So we end up with a buildup of glucose, we end up with a buildup of insulin within the bloodstream. And that is very detrimental to the horse itself. And that is essentially what's going on in a very simplified version with a horse that has insulin resistance there. Now, keep in mind that insulin stimulates the conversion of glucose into fat. Okay?
Okay.
So the more sugar we have, the more glucose we have, the more fat that's being produced, being stored, and hence we have these huge obese horses. Okay? All right, that brings us to question number 2.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So we are on question number 2. We're going to get through these trivia questions pretty quickly.
Sure. Now, the last one's going to be toward the end.
Okay.
Though. Okay.
All right. So question number 2. Everyone get ready. Have your answers ready for this. You're going to have 2 minutes. Again, this is for the U.S. only due to those international giveaway laws. But, okay, question number 2. Horses with insulin resistance have elevated amounts of blank and blank in their bloodstream.
Right, two things.
So we're looking for 2 things.
Yeah.
Horses with insulin resistance have elevated amounts of blank and blank in their bloodstream. You have 2 minutes. And I've got
some more
questions.
Facebook
I've got questions for you.
Okay.
I did see just a couple on here real quick.
Okay.
Grab this one. We had a couple people who were a little bit confused about the leptin. If leptin suppresses hunger, why do they act hungry?
Leptin is there to suppress the appetite of the horse, yes. But if the horse is not able to utilize the leptin, then it doesn't work like it's supposed to. And it actually triggers part of the nervous system, and that's telling the horse that it is hungry, that it wants something to eat. Okay.
So is that why you might see some levels of that leptin high when they do blood tests?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. The horse has become resistant. Leptin resistant is what has happened.
Got you.
So it's going to be high within the bloodstream itself. The horse can't utilize it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. So let's do this one. Can insulin resistance be reversed? And that is from Jan.
Well, I would like to say that it could, but no, it cannot be reversed. It cannot be cured by any means. So what our option is to manage the horse. And we're going to talk about what we need to do as far as different management practices for our horse then. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's do, we got about a half a minute. So let's do one more question here. Donna would like to know, how does cortisol impact insulin resistance?
Basically, it works against our horse. In fact, it's actually going to help increase the glucose level within the bloodstream of the horse itself. So as we mentioned earlier, a horse can have IR and later in its life end up with Cushing's as well. And with a Cushing's problem, we have an abundance of cortisol that's floating around in the horse itself or in the bloodstream of the horse.
Absolutely.
And that excess cortisol will actually elevate glucose levels.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that is time's up for question number 2. Horses with insulin resistance have elevated amounts of insulin and glucose, also known as sugar, in their bloodstream. So the answer was insulin and glucose. And we have a winner. And congratulations to Melissa Tad.
Congratulations,
Congratulations,
Melissa.
Melissa. You're going to email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. In the subject line, you can put live giveaway winner. And again, you're going to be winning this prize pack over here, which is the Breeder's Formula, clay, finish, t-shirt size, and your hat. And in your email, make sure that we get your t-shirt size and your shipping address. So congratulations. And we still have one more trivia question, along with, of course, our grand prize. And so, Mike, let's jump back in here. And so we mentioned here a minute ago, you said that there's no way to cure insulin resistance.
That's correct.
And that we have to manage it.
That's right.
How do we do this?
Okay, good question, Corbin. And there's several things that we can do. Of course, all of you understand that this horse is overweight, or the majority of our horses are overweight. So one of our goals is going to be reduce the weight of the horse. We're going to monitor our diet. So we're going to take a look at nutrition. We're going to do a good job in controlling the amount of carbs that horse is consuming to reduce calorie intake as well. And in this process, we're trying to pull all this excess weight off of this particular horse with IR. All right. Now, when we take a look at nutrition, a lot of these horses, number one, they don't need any grain. They don't need a complete feed by any means, okay? And there is a reason for doing that, in that if we're feeding a complete feed to a horse, and if we're unable to meet the daily amount that's recommended of that feed, because this horse is way overweight to begin with, then we have created a balance problem, number one. The horse is not getting everything it needs nutritionally, but if we cut back on what we're feeding that's less than what's recommended, we have reduced calories, but the horse is suffering from a nutrient deficiency at that point in time, okay?
And just to drop in real quick, in January, our last event was how to read a feed tag.
Right.
And we go into a lot of detail on this and on why the complete feeds will do this. And so that is available to rewatch for anyone who would like more information regarding that.
And with a complete feed too, it's going to tell you how much you need to feed by the body weight of the horse. And you have to feed that amount in order for that horse to have everything it needs nutritionally on a daily basis, okay?
Absolutely.
Now, as far as hay is going to play a vital part in the diet of these IR horses, okay? And if we can come across some late maturity hay, that'd be wonderful. If we can find some good stemmy hay that's less leafy, that's a good fit for these IR horses as well. And as I just mentioned, we're going to eliminate grain. We're going to eliminate sweet feed. And one of the things that a lot of our horse owners love to give to horses is treats. We need to give those up as well. And one of the other things that we're going to do, if Mr. Will would pull up slide number 4 for me, is this green lush grass. And if it is a cool season grass, and then it's going to be, when I say cool season, I'm talking about fescue, I'm talking about ryegrass, I'm talking about Dallas grass. It's going to be extremely high in fructan, which is simply sugar, okay? So we have got to control the time that the horse is actually allowed to graze if the horse is able to be turned out on this particular form of forage, okay, in itself, okay? If the horse is able to graze safely, we're going to monitor the time, hopefully the amount that the horse is consuming, and if we're going to turn that horse out on this green grass, then the best time to do that is going to be the early morning hours. And at that time, the level of fructans in that cool season grass is going to be its lowest. we're going to avoid the afternoon hour altogether with these cool season grasses. And then another thing that we need to do if that horse is only receiving a forage diet, and we've done away with all the complete feed, sweet feed and all that, is we need to consider adding a forage balancer to the diet. And one option that we have at Life Data Labs is a product called Barn Bag. Okay? A Barn Bag is fed at half a cup or 3 ounces to a 1,000-pound horse.
This is what Barn Bag
and that's actually
looks like right here.
the product itself. There's 11 pounds of product in that particular bag, and that's going to be a 60-day supply for a 1,000-pound horse. This is what we call a forage balancer,
Absolutely.
a balancer, and that's going to ensure that that horse is being met its daily nutrient requirements. The only thing that's in Barn Bag will be your mineral, vitamins, and amino acids. That's what's in Barn Bag itself. Okay? Another thing that we need to do with these IR horses in managing those horses, which is critical, if we can do it, that's exercise. All right? And I think one of the questions that might have been sent in on Facebook is, well, how do you do that? If the horse is physically able, number one, doesn't have a laminitic issue or a problem going on, and if the horse has been idle for some time, then what we're going to do, we're going to start out slow and easy. Maybe 2 to 3 times a week, we may want to lunge the horse for 20 to 30 minutes. And we're just going to gradually build that up until we reach, say, 5 to 7 times a week. But exercise is critical. In fact, exercise, the exertion, is going to help burn off any calories, number one, and hopefully help reduce the fat accumulations that's within the horse itself. Now, let's talk about a horse that has IR and also has laminitis. And we have stressed over and over that these horses are subject to that, okay? Now, that particular horse needs to be on strictly a hay-based diet, no grain whatsoever. A lot of times we have to put this horse on a dry lot, okay, if we're going to turn that horse out. This horse doesn't need that green, lush grass that's out there. If we're going to put this horse on a hay-based diet, we're going to feed about 1.5% of that horse's body weight as far as total hay on a daily basis, on a dry matter basis as well. This hay, which I've kind of stressed and pointed out already, should be low in non-structural carbohydrates. And it pays to test your hay so that you know what you've got and what you're feeding.
Absolutely.
If you're unable to test your hay, to be on the safe side, you might consider soaking that hay before you actually feed that to your horse. A rule of thumb is anywhere from about 30 to 60 minutes. Of course, drain the water out of the hay. We don't want that to set for long periods of time because of the possibility of mold. But what that soaking is going to do is it's going to help remove some of that sugar. Keep in mind, too, that when you soak hay, not only are you reducing the sugar content, but you're reducing some of the nutrient content as far as minerals. You're going to lose part of that as well during the soaking process. Now, it's critical that we weigh our horse, if at all possible. We need to weigh our hay so that we know exactly what we are feeding the horse. We need to continue with the help of your veterinarian monitoring through blood work where that horse is as far as its insulin resistance, okay? And if we have a horse that is extremely difficult in getting this weight off, and we have done about all we can do, then if you'll work with your vet, there's a couple of things that your veterinarian can provide. One of those is a product called Thyroid L, which will help increase the metabolic process. And then another thing that's often recommended would be a product called metformin as well, which is going to help with the glucose regulation. As well. Now, there are tests for insulin resistance, okay? And basically, I have 4 different tests. The first one is what we call an oral sugar test. It is the most common test that a veterinarian will use. It does involve fasting for at least 6 hours. And after the horse is fasted for the 6-hour period, then that horse is going to be given a certain amount of corn syrup by mouth. And then a blood sample will be drawn at 60 minutes and 90 minutes, and then that will be analyzed. There is also a resting insulin concentration test that can be used as well. And all we're doing is checking the insulin level in the horse at that point in time. If that horse tests positive, then the horse is positive for IR. However, if the horse tests negative, then sometimes we can get some false readings there. So that's one of the drawbacks of that. There is an insulin tolerance test as well, which involves no fasting. We check the glucose as far as in a blood sample. We inject with insulin. We wait 30 minutes, and then we do another recheck there. And then the last test is a leptin test, which detects the level of hormone that's within the blood of the horse itself.
Absolutely. All right, Mike. Well, as we continue to move on, can we get into some prevention a little bit?
Yes, we can. In fact, that's very, very important for us to take a look at there. And of course, in preventing this particular problem and avoiding this particular problem, prevention is the key.
Absolutely.
In fact, prevention is the key to just about any horse problem. If you think about it.
Absolutely.
If we can prevent it, then we're money ahead.
Absolutely.
By all means, okay? So one of the things that we've got to do when we're looking at preventing this particular problem is providing that horse with a balanced diet. And when we talk about a balanced diet, we've got to balance the amount of protein, calories, minerals, vitamins, and amino acids in what we're feeding that horse. If we're out of balance in any of those 5 areas, that is an unbalanced diet. And we don't want that for this particular horse, okay? And it's critical that we balance the calories and the energy that this horse is receiving when it comes to prevention. All right?
Absolutely.
The next thing that we really need to concentrate on is that we've got to maintain the correct body condition score, which we said earlier, we strive for a body condition score of 5, maybe 6. All right? Now, if Mr. Will would pull up slide 5 for me, let's take a look at some examples of some horses. And I'll give you just a few seconds to take a look at this one here. This is a body condition score of 5. Very nice looking horse here. That's what we're shooting for. Will, if you'll go to number 6, this is a body condition score of number 6. A number 6 will have just a little bit more finish on it. And then we get into a number 7. And as you can see here, especially behind the shoulders there, I can actually visually see some fat pockets that are starting there. We don't want to be here. And then we go up the ladder one more time to an 8. And hopefully we don't have anything like this here. Of course, this to me is Looks like one of these nice quarter horses. Got quite a bit of finish on it. If you look behind the shoulders there, you can see some fat there, and if you could feel around the tail head up there, it's going to be soft and smushy as well. And then at the top of our body condition score, we have a 9. And this is definitely going to be an IR horse at some point in time if we don't get a handle on the situation there. If you look at the neck of the horse, you can see the crest, the thickness of that neck. If you look down the top line, I imagine he's almost going to be flat up there, behind the shoulders as well. So we've got to control body condition score as far as preventing this particular problem here. The third thing that we can do as far as prevention is exercise. Exercise, exercise, exercise. Pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you, okay? And that is that management practices that predispose a horse to equine metabolic syndrome or insulin resistant are most likely initiated during the first 10 years of life of a horse. That first 10 years is highly critical, and we don't want that horse to be in that body condition score of an 8 or 9, especially during this time frame. So what as far as the management in that first 10 years is critical to the future of that particular horse as far as its usefulness. Will, if you'll bring up slide 10 for me. Of course, we know that these horses are subject to laminitis here. And if you take a look at the screen, you're going to see that mismanagement due to overfeeding idle horses causes 70 to 80% of laminitis cases. Mismanagement, nutrition, diet. Okay?
Absolutely.
And I think, Corbin, at this point in time, you'll have some testimonials. You want to wait on those for just a minute?
Let's wait on some of those.
Okay. All right. And I want to reiterate one more time how obesity affects the horse. All right. And we know that it has a negative effect on the entire body of the horse, carrying this extra weight. Okay. It's going to work on the joints of the horse. It's going to work on the skeletal system of the horse, carrying this excess weight. Okay. It's also going to affect the internal aspect of the horse as well. This excess weight brings on this excess accumulation of fat, and that can take place internally, especially around the intestines of the horse. We will have these benign tumors that can start, that can set up, and that will predispose the horse to colic and other problems like that. Of course, we know that obesity is one of the key factors to insulin resistance, by all means, okay? We also know that high levels of insulin can affect a mare's reproductive cycle as well, okay? We also know that this excess weight that the horse is going to carry will put this horse in jeopardy of a laminitic bout. And one other point that we need to point out here, these overweight horses with accumulation of fat can actually produce a hormone which leads to an increase in cortisol, okay, simply because the horse is fat, okay? And this is going to affect the normal response of insulin in regulating the sugar within the bloodstream of the horse itself. So, with that being said, we're ready for question number 3.
The last question.
The last one, the one we've been looking for.
All right. Okay, this is the last live question that we have for this session. Again, this is for the U.S. only, and you will have 2 minutes to answer the question. We will look at all the correct answers, and we will randomly select someone who answered it correctly to win another one of our prize packs. And again, this is for the U.S. only. Question number 3. What percent of the horse population is overweight in the United States?
Very easy question.
Absolutely, and I know you've answered it.
We've covered it 2 or 3 times, yes.
What percent of the horse population is overweight in the U.S.? You have 2 minutes, and in the meantime, I've got more questions for you.
All right.
Okay. We've already hit this one, but Donna, asked us, does insulin resistance progress or turn into Cushing's?
Yes.
So can you talk about that relationship a little bit?
Yes, it can. In fact, a horse that starts out with insulin resistance, that can progress to Cushing's, where you have both problems going on at the same time. Yeah, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. Okay.
Okay. This is a really good one from Heather here. She wants to know what happens if your insulin resistant horse maybe escapes from the dry lot, or maybe gets into another horse's feed or so on, and gets into and eats a lot of grass or eats some sweet feed or so on. What's that step for that horse owner?
Well, number one, we need to keep a close eye on the horse. Because if that horse got into some green, lush grass, which it's not accustomed to, it probably thought it was at its birthday party, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And it started consuming this cake or this sugar or
Absolutely.
this green grass. And it probably went overboard, and this excess or abundance of sugar that the horse is taking in this quickly could bring on a bout of laminitis. So we just need to watch the horse, monitor the feed of the horse to make sure that that's not the case.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
We got a couple more seconds left, but real quick, I want to remind everybody that, again, all these live events that we do, they are recorded. You can find them under our videos tabs. So if this is the first time you've watched it, you'd like to maybe watch some past ones, you can actually visit our videos tab on Facebook. You can also visit us on YouTube, where you can rewatch a lot of those. We've talked about thrush. We've talked about white line disease. We've talked a lot about feeding the horse and nutrition. We get into a lot of depth on a lot of things we've talked about today. We go into more depth. So please take a look at those. There's a lot of really good, useful information that I highly recommend. And we have a winner.
Okay.
Okay, so the answer to the question, what percent of the horse population is overweight in the United States? And that is 50%. And our winner for this question is Wanda Taylor. Congratulations, Wanda. You can email cservice@lifedatalabs.com. That email address should be floating down there at the bottom at some point in time for you to look at. You can email that. In the subject line, you can put live giveaway winner. We'll need your t-shirt size and your shipping address, and you're going to win the breeder's formula, clay finish, the cap, and the t-shirt. So congratulations. And everyone, please, stay on, because we still have our grand prize giveaway. And the reason why you want to stay on is because we're going to continue to talk about, well, of course, more information, some, of course, our own research that we've done. But if you stay on, we have a key word that is very important for that contest that can really help your chances of winning. So, Mike, let's jump back in here. Now, I know here at Life Data, for all of you who do not know, we have an on-site research lab.
We do.
All this research started with Dr. Frank Gravely. He was the founder of Life Data, of course, the creator of Fair's formula. Dedicated his life to equine research. And through all of this, we've continued that research. And I know that insulin resistance was one of the things that we have been researching here and doing some blood tests and kind of trying to figure out what we can do from a nutritional standpoint for these horses.
That's right. In fact, we just have completed 2 years of field trials. with this particular product that we have just recently released, and that is our Life Data insulin formula.
This is Life Data Insulin R formula.
It is on the market now, and after 2 years of research, there has been some very positive results that have come about. Of course, this is a product that we're going to feed to our horse, or the insulin-resistant horse, on a daily basis. And what it's going to do is it's going to help reduce the symptoms associated with insulin resistance.
Absolutely.
Now, it's not going to treat it by any means, okay? And it's not going to replace anything that your veterinarian would prescribe for your horse, okay? But it can be safely fed
along with those things,
along with these other medications that are prescribed as well, along with proper diet. We can't forget about that. And then we've got to work at reducing the weight of the horse itself. So it's going to help reduce the symptoms, and those symptoms, number one is laminitis. So we can help reduce that. That's wonderful there. It's going to help with the obesity problem as well. And if we can reduce the weight on the horse, we're going to reduce our fat deposits as well, outward and internally as well. Of course, a lot of times that horse may be lethargic, doesn't want to do anything. It's going to help with that situation. Of course, these horses are subject to laminitis. And of course, a lot of times a horse that has had a laminitic bout and has had some rotation are going to end up with some sore feet, thin soles. It's going to help with that as well. And of course, it's going to help with the lethargy problem, so that's going to help you exercise the horse if the horse can do that at that point in time. And this product is going to supply active ingredients that's going to help with glucose metabolism, fat metabolism, insulin action. It's going to help reduce inflammation. It's going to help support the proper metabolism for enhanced weight control.
Absolutely.
So that's just some of the things that the product is going to do for your horse over a period of time. It's not an overnight fix by any means.
I know talking to Dr. Gravely, he mentioned feeding this for up to 6 months.
Right.
To really allow it to start taking effect. I mean, anyone here who's tried to lose weight and who's tried these different feeding programs on themselves know that it takes time to get back into shape.
It's a process.
And it is a process. And of course, it is going to take that horse owner's dedication. But it will take about 6 months. And it is also, we also recommend to feed it alongside with Farrier's formula.
Correct.
And of course, through this field testing and through our research, we've also have the new Lamina formula and the adrenal formula
for Cushing's,
for the Laminitis horse and for the Cushing's horse. And of course, a lot of these insulin-resistant horses will also have those problems. And so we actually recommend, if you have that laminitic horse who's also insulin resistant, you will feed the Insulin R and Farrier's formula together. And that's our recommendation. If you've got the Cushing's and insulin resistance, it's the same thing. It's the Insulin R and the Farrier's formula.
Or if you just have Cushing's, then you would feed the adrenal formula for the PPID horse along with Farrier's formula then, yes.
And again, if you just have laminitis, it'd be Lamina formula and
double strength.
Yes.
Correct.
So we know that can get a little bit kind of confusing. So if you have any questions, of course, feel free to contact us, call us. We'll be happy to talk to you. But we do have some testimonials on this product from our field testings. And Will, you want to put one of those up, please? All right. So our first one here, this is from Alexis. She says, I'm extremely pleased with the results of the supplement. And Gracie is now maintaining her weight loss through our New York winter, and very well. Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing it. She has been on the supplement for just over a year, and I would definitely recommend it for any horse with insulin resistance. And we got one more here from Kaylee N. I've been very pleased with my mare's condition since starting the Insulin R formula, and do plan to continue it. Everything has just sort of fallen into place, and she is moving more freely than ever. Her feet are not as sensitive as they were, even after a number of years barefoot, and have noticeably tightened up from the coronary band to the ground. She's big-bodied and well-sprung ribs, but here too she simply seems to be wrapped a little tighter. We actually have more testimonials than those two, and you can read more information about those as well by actually visiting lifedatalabs.com. You can go to our testimonials page, and of course there's testimonials on all our products, but there are more testimonials on there. We also have on our blog, lifedatalabs.com/blog, we just put out a brand new blog article where we talk about the insulin resistance, the study, and why some of the ingredients in here are there and why it will help that horse. So all those details are on our blog. Again, you visit lifedatalabs.com/blog if you'd like to learn more information about that. So all that being said, we want to talk about our grand prize giveaway?
Yeah, I think we'd have some folks that would love to have the package.
Absolutely. So, you know, as we mentioned, we have a lot of people on here who have insulin-resistant horses. So our grand prize giveaway today is going to be actually 2 bags of the Life Data Insulin R. Each 11-pound bag is a 30-day supply.
Right.
And then an 11-pound bag of the Forage Formula Double Strength, which is a 60-day supply. So 2 bags of Insulin R and 1 bag of this, you receive a 60-day supply for that insulin-resistant horse. So this is one of our prize packs. And the other prize pack we have is going to be the Forage Formula Double Strength and the Barn Bag, which is, of course, our recommendation for those trying to prevent insulin resistance. So we actually have those 2 prize packs. We're going to give away one of those packs to 3 different people. And to enter that contest, you're going to go to lifedata.live/win. You can probably see that link scrolling down at the bottom in the green. Visit that link. We've got a few prompts for you to do to register. You'll need to use, of course, an active email address, because that's how we're going to contact you. Every single prompt that we have, each one that you do, increases your chances to win. And of course, we have our code word that will actually about double your chances to win. And that code word is going to be insulin. So insulin is the keyword. So go to that, register, and you know, good luck. And
then Tuesday afternoon.
Yes. So Tuesday afternoon we will come here at 2 o'clock again, and we will announce the winners.
Right.
So join us at 2, and we will announce winners, and of course we will answer any questions that you may have.
Sure.
Maybe you're over the weekend, maybe you're just now watching this, it being Saturday or Sunday. And you're just now watching it, and you have a question, join us Tuesday, and we'll be available to answer those questions. And if you have any questions now, as you're watching it live, feel free to drop them in, and we'll take a look real quick before we sign off. But like I said, you know, I'm amazed by the amount of research that has gone into these specific conditions. And I know the Lamina formula has seen some really good results since it's been out. And so have the others. Now we've got this brand new one, which I'm really excited about, because I know how many people and how many horses are suffering from this insulin resistance.
Sure.
So let's take a look. All right. We have a question here. If you already feed a ration balancer, such as Triple Crown 30%, can you use the barn bag, or is that a standalone balancer?
It is a standalone balancer, the barn bag is.
Standalone balancer.
It is a standalone, yes.
And if you ever have any questions, you know, like that, like say I'm feeding this supplement and this supplement, and you're scared about over supplementation, feel free to contact us. We can look at those ingredients and make sure you're not overly doing something, because I know that's something we 100% want to make sure is that, you know, you're not over supplementing your horse.
And if you have an overweight horse and you switch that horse to strictly a hay diet, barn bag plays a very important role in providing what that horse needs nutritionally on a daily basis. we're only going to feed a half a cup or 3 ounces of barn bag per day to a 1,000-pound horse. And that 3 ounces is all nutrients that the horse needs.
Absolutely. We did have someone ask about feeding barn bag along with these. For that insulin resistant horse, especially if that horse has been diagnosed, we actually recommend just the double strength and the new Insulin R.
Right.
So that's our recommendation for that. And then we also had someone ask about the different problems, again, on what you would feed. I wish we had, well, I got the adrenal here.
So, what are we looking for?
Well, I was going to see if we had another lamina or adrenal, but we don't. Okay, so just for prevention, we would recommend the Ferris Formula Double Strength and the barn bag.
Right.
That's for the horses. This is a preventative measure with the basic diet of the horse, barn bag for those essential nutrients, and then Ferris Formula Double Strength for the extra support for that hoof. Right. So that's good for preventing, of course, laminitis and insulin and those problems. You have anything additional to add between those two?
And this is, if you have a horse that's overweight too, the barn bag is a very good option in helping to pull that weight off the horse before that excess weight develops into IR or something like that.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, that was the key. Prevention is the key. Getting the weight off these horses is tremendous. Whatever that you've got to take a look at doing. Sure.
Keys to prevent the problem before it happens.
Right.
And that's our prevention.
That's right.
Right here. And of course, we have the topicals as well if you'd like even more help with that.
Right.
For a horse that only has laminitis, you would feed the Lamina formula and the double strength. I don't have a Lamina formula out here with me, but you would feed that and the double strength.
Correct.
And that's what you would do for the laminitic horse who only has laminitis, whether that is chronic
or acute.
And if it's an acute case, when that laminitis has kind of gone away, you can actually take out the lamina and just feed the double strength.
Right.
For the Cushing's horse, you would feed Ferris Formula Double Strength and the adrenal formula. And that's what you'd feed for that horse. And then for the insulin resistant horse, you're going to feed the Insulin R and the Ferris Formula Double Strength.
Correct.
Right. And then if they have insulin resistance, that takes top priority. So that's what you're going to tackle first. So if they have insulin resistance and lamina, these two, insulin resistance, Cushing's, these two.
That's right.
And again, if you have any questions on that, please call us, and we'll be happy to talk to you, get you in touch with Dr. Scott Gravely. He can also talk with you and give you his recommendation on what you can do to help as well. All right. Someone says, would you want to feed barn bag and double strength together? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And also, we also have double strength plus joint. Which is for those horses who might have joint problems. You can get the exact same benefits of Ferris Formula Double Strength with those additional nutrients of the joint. And it's the same thing. You can actually just take out the double strength here and put in the double strength plus joint if you have an insulin resistant horse that may also have joint problems.
That's right.
So, okay, so here's one more. I have a mare PSSM1. I was told by vet to give a fat supplement such as cool calorie or oil. I don't feed what was recommended. She gets it with low carb haystack and eats low NSC Timothy hay. But she is fat and has started getting a crusty neck and fat on the dock of tail. She gets worked every other day right now due to weather. Should I increase her work, decrease fat, or add something else?
Did the vet recommend the fat in the diet of the horse?
I was told by vet to give a fat supplement such as a cool calorie or oil.
Okay. I don't want to contradict the vet, so I shouldn't do that. But essentially, fat is a great source for calories, number one. Okay. And we typically will add fat or oil to the diet of the horse that is struggling to maintain weight. And that's going to provide some extra calories there to assist with weight gain. So, but I think this horse is overweight, so might want to reevaluate that just a little bit.
Okay. Stacy, he says, my horse, this is a great question. My horse is not overweight. She is a thoroughbred and a hard keeper, but she is insulin resistant. What do you recommend feeding?
IR number one for the insulin resistant problem. I'd add Ferris formula double strength to the mix as well. Being a thoroughbred, I can almost imagine the typical thoroughbred foot if she has that, so to speak. So Ferris formula is going to provide some extra nutrients there that's going to help with hoof quality, hoof growth, and so forth. Okay, and the IR was balanced to be fed with double strength or Ferris formula or Ferris or DS plus joint. Okay, now one of the things that you can do as well, and we just touched on that, would be the addition of some oil to the diet of the thoroughbred. And that's just going to give you some additional calories there. That's not going to work against the IR problem at all. Okay, I'd take a look at doing that.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's see.
And that's a good point too. The majority of horses that has an IR problem are overweight. Now, there are horses that, just like the thoroughbred, that's not overweight and still has the IR problem. So yes.
Okay.
There are always exceptions to the rule.
Okay. All right. We have one more. Mary would like to know, what is the NSC percent of the barn bag?
NSC percent of the barn bag. That I don't have in front of me right now. So.
Mary, if you'd like to, you can message us here on Facebook, or like I said, you can call us. We'll be happy to get you with Dr. Scott Gravely, and he can answer that question.
I can say that it would be a very minimal amount when we take a look at sugar that's going to be in barn bag itself.
Okay. Karen would like to know, can you comment on the different types of hay that are good for the insulin resistant horse? I know testing is best, but are there some in general that are are there some general guidelines? What about alfalfa?
If you're in an area and you have access to some warm season grasses, that personally would be my first choice. Warm season grass. If the only thing that you have is a cool season grass, then I would have it tested, number one. And then number two, more than likely you may want to soak that before you feed that to your IR horse as well. I know that there's some areas of the country where the only thing that's available would be alfalfa, but just be mindful of the amount that you are feeding your horse when it comes to alfalfa.
Okay. I'm going to take this one last question.
Okay.
And then we'll wind it up. Someone asked about the supply on the Insulin R. The Insulin R is a 30-day supply. The double strength is a 60-day supply, and the barn bag is a 60-day supply. So for a 60-day supply, with this combination, you would need 2 bags of the Insulin R and 1 bag of the double strength. Okay, well, again, don't forget to register for the grand prize giveaway. That link has been, again, floating around, lifedata.live/win. You have until Tuesday to register for that, and we will go live Tuesday at the same time, 2 o'clock, to announce the winner. And again, there'll be 3 people. We've got 2 prize packs. We've got the 2 Insulin R formulas with the 1 double strength, and then a double strength and a barn bag. So we have 2 different prize packs, and then 3 people will win 1 of those prize packs. So thank you for attending today. If you have any other questions, please call us, please email us. We're always happy to help. I know that we there's still a lot to cover when it comes to insulin resistance. It's a big subject. So I know we didn't hit everything.
We
by any
only
means.
touched the tip of the iceberg today. Yes,
Absolutely.
right.
So if you have any other questions, please let us know.
Sure.
Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful weekend.
And we'll look forward to seeing you Tuesday afternoon.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.